Hey, it's Wes Bewley, and I want to give a powerful leadership message to you today. And actually, this is something I learned this last week in Seaside, Florida, hanging with about 100 of the top producers in our country as far as business and leadership goes. And Seaside, Florida, if you don't know, is where they filmed the movie The Truman Show. It's about 10 miles past Destin, Florida, right there on the Florida coast, and it's just an awesome, awesome place. It's got, all those little perfect houses, just like on The Truman Show with Jim Carrey. And we had a great time, but probably one of the most powerful things I learned this week was in a private leadership meeting where we were discussing the circle of freedom. And really, I think the reason this struck me so hard is because I could really identify with this. And no matter what stage of leadership you're at, or what stage your business is at, or whatever, you're going to be able to identify with some part of this. And so let me just kind of break it down for you real quick. So this is the circle of freedom, as you can see here. At the top is abundance, and obviously that's what we all want to enjoy, is a level of abundance. And I know, like when I first started my business, I was working 4 jobs and didn't have any time, didn't have a savings account or any extra income. I was basically living paycheck to paycheck, and so I had a form of bondage, meaning that part of the bondage I was living in was that I had to show up to those jobs in order to get a paycheck. So that was a bondage. That was a place in my life where I was stuck. So if I wanted to go somewhere, I couldn't because I had to report to those jobs in order to earn income. Another level of bondage I had back then was I had no time. When you got 4 jobs, it's really hard to find time to do things in life that you want to do. And so, I had time bondage. I never got to do what I wanted to do, and I never got to do what maybe I was called to do because I always had these jobs and, never could get a level of freedom. And so I was looking to get out of this situation, right? And maybe you're the same way. Maybe you're at a place in your business where you're looking to get out of some form of bondage, whether it's maybe you're overweight and you're trying to lose weight. Maybe you never have any energy and you're trying to gain more energy. Or maybe you are like I was, where maybe you have too many jobs, or you have one job that takes up all of your time, or maybe you don't have any time, or maybe you don't have any money. And that limitation of money, that lack of money, is really a form of bondage. And that's the way I started to see things a little bit more different. Is along the way, a lot of times what happens is someone either gets a spiritual breakthrough or they hear the truth. And so the truth in my situation back in the year 2000 was that I didn't have to stay here, right? That there was a way out of the bondage that I was in, and I didn't have to work 4 jobs, and I didn't have to lack time all my life, and I didn't have to lack money all my life. And so really just it starts with the realization that you really can take control of the situation that you're in, okay? And that's kind of the foundation. That's where a lot of people are even right now, where maybe they just heard the truth, or maybe someone just shared this with them, or a business with them, or a product with them, or whatever, a level of truth with them, and they realize they don't have to stay here any longer. And that was really a good day for me when I realized, what? I can take control of my circumstances. I can do better. I can advance my family, and I don't have to settle for the life that I live now, that I truly can take control and change, okay? And so at that point, once I got great courage, I started doing things that I normally hadn't done before. I started talking in a certain way. I started walking in a certain way. I started behaving in a certain way and performing at a certain level that I wasn't whenever I was in bondage. And so what happened is, after a year of that, I was earning over $5,000 a month with my own business, and at that point I was debt free, and really had the tiger by the tail at the age of 19, and that gave me a level of liberty, okay? And so, I wasn't rich, but at the same time, I wasn't in bondage anymore. I got to control my time, and I actually had money, so I wasn't lacking money at that point. But that was a year journey. This right here was a year journey, and for some people, it's a 2-year journey. For some people, it's a 1-month journey. For some people, it's a 3-year journey. But for me, it was a 1-year journey, and I finally had a level of liberty in my life. And so at this point, today, we're experiencing what's called, what I would call abundance, where our business, pays us over 600,000 per year, and you know, we get to live where we want, do what we want, you know, drive what we want, whatever. Those are all very, very small things in the grand scheme of things, but we have no bondage as far as physical limitations or you know, rules that we have to stay within because of a job or because of a lack of time or something like that. And so we're experiencing a level of abundance, okay? And that's really what everybody wants, is they want to go from bondage to abundance, or at least get to liberty, right? But here's what I know is that once you realize that once you realize that you can, and maybe perhaps you're supposed to, right? Maybe you realize, and it doesn't have to take months. It could take just a moment. Even me saying that, you know what, you're not supposed to be in bondage. You're not supposed to lack money. You're not supposed to lack time. You're not supposed to hate your job. You're not supposed to have tons of debt that keeps you up at night. Once you just realize that, and that you can change that, now you know, it's kind of like now your eyes are open, and now you can start to move forward in great courage, knowing that if you'll do what other people have done, you will get a same or similar result. And then obviously if you do that for a period of time, you will experience liberty, whether that's becoming debt-free, whether that's being able to replace an income from a job you don't like, whatever. And then ultimately you stay on that same course, and it leads to abundance. Now, what happens here is there's a word I want to show you real quick. There's a very important word that lives here called responsibility. And responsibility is really paramount if you want to remain here. So like for me right now, you know, I kind of like life up here between liberty and abundance. I kind of enjoy it. You know, once you get used to it, you want to stay there. But there's a word that keeps you there called responsibility. And so what happens at this level is that you can become selfish. And guys, I've been selfish before. I've been selfish with my time. I've been selfish with my talents. And maybe if you're already, you know, if you're already building your business at a high level, maybe you've experienced some of these emotions, whether it's selfishness, whether it's complacency. So what happens is you get selfish, and now, you know, all the things that you're willing to do here, you know, seem so hard up here because, you know, you've made it to the quote unquote promised land or whatever. And, you know, and everything's so difficult now, and, you know, it's so painful to go do things that you were excited to do early on as you began, you know, marching towards liberty and abundance in your life. And that's where responsibility comes in, because if responsibility ultimately doesn't step up to the plate in your life, then what happens is selfishness leads to complacency. And now you're waking up late, now you're staying up too late, now you're not working out, now you're making excuses. And that's really what happens here. If you find yourself making excuses, then that's when you know you're probably, you know, kind of on a downward spiral as far as your leadership effectiveness and your business growth. And so you really want to avoid making excuses at all possible. And guys, the reason I know that is because I've done it, you know, and I still do it, and I still got to battle against it, because it's easy to get complacent at this point. It's easy to, you know, tell myself that, you know, I'll work out tomorrow, or, you know, I can't work out this morning because I need to conserve my energy for my meetings tonight. And guys, it's just selfishness and complacency is all it is. Or, you know, right here, I tell myself I'm too busy to take that phone call, or even I glorify my time and I say, oh, well, you can't reach me till 3 p.m. So from the time I wake up till 3 p.m., you know, that's my time, that's me time. And, you know, you just got this little sliver of the day. Meanwhile, you may be over here in bondage, I'm in abundance, and yet I'm being selfish and complacent with my time. Because, you know, once you get to this level, where your true joy comes from is going right back down here, finding someone else who is in bondage like you used to be, and helping them get out of it. And so that's where the true happiness comes from at this level, is paying it forward and helping other people get, you know, where you are. And so if you're not there yet, so let's say right now you're watching this video and maybe you still got these jobs you don't like, maybe you still have debt, maybe you know, your bank account's looking a little slim, and you're just, you know, you feel what I'm talking about when I say the word bondage. Well, here's the good news. For you to get out of bondage, all you've got to do, number one, is realize you're not supposed to be there, have great courage, and go back down here and find other people that are in bondage like you and help them get out of it. And if you'll help enough other people get out of bondage, then you know what? Your liberty and abundance will be an automatic. But to the leaders out there that maybe things are going great and you know, you can relate when I say, you know, selfishness and complacency and making excuses. I want to encourage you to just completely bypass these three, fight against it, and practice responsibility and going straight down here to bondage again, finding, not you going to bondage, but finding someone who's in bondage and helping them get where they want to go in life, because that's where you're ultimately going to be happy as a leader. Nothing else is going to satisfy you. No car is going to satisfy you. No house is going to satisfy you. No amount of money is going to satisfy you up here. What's going to satisfy you is paying that forward and finding other people who were where you were or similar and helping them get out of that situation. That's what's going to satisfy you, and ultimately that's probably what you're called to do, because if you're experiencing a level of liberty and abundance, or if you're at this stage right here where you have great courage and you're working towards, you know, getting a level of freedom in your life, then chances are you're probably called to help other people get out of that situation, to help them get where they want to go in life, and that's where you're going to be happy. That's where you're going to be fulfilled, and that's where it doesn't matter what car you drive or what house you live in or how much money's in your bank account, because you're doing what you're supposed to do. So if you're up here, you're supposed to be making a difference. So for me, I'm up here, and you know what? I'm not supposed to just hang out here and, you know, hunt and fish all day, which is what I want to do. I want to go hunting 24/7. Believe me. I mean, one of my favorite things to do is go hunting and fishing, specifically hunting. But I can't do that every day, because that's not, you know, that's not ultimately what's going to make me happy. What's ultimately going to make me happy, and probably you, is to focus on who you can help get out of the situation they're in, show them what you learned, you know, open their eyes, give them great courage, and help them get where they want to go. This is the circle of freedom. Again, you know, keeping in mind that the number one name of the game here, if you want to stay there, is responsibility. The big R. The big R can you know, make your life happy and can keep you happy. But if you don't focus on the big R, and you don't focus on discipline and all those things, then you'll start to seep into selfishness, and then you start making excuses, and then you get complacent, then you get dependent, and you end up right back where you started. And no one wants to end up right back where they started. They want to keep advancing in life, and the way you're going to be able to keep advancing in life is to focus on that big R, which is responsibility. So that's your leadership message for the week, really the year. This was a huge breakthrough for me, and I was just like, oh my gosh, you know, this guy's reading my mail right now, because, you know, I've been hanging out here in selfishness and making excuses and being complacent, and that's not the case anymore. You know, I've made a decision just in a moment that I was going to stay right here between liberty and abundance by practicing responsibility and being willing to pay the price and being willing to do those things early on that were difficult over and over and over again, not for myself, but to help other people get where they want to go, to launch other people's destinies, to launch other people's dreams, and in return, you know, all your dreams and your destiny all works out as well. So thank you guys for your time, and have a great week.